The Grand Ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton gleamed with old money confidence and new money anxiety. I adjusted my comfortable denim shirt, the same one I wore when signing my first billion-dollar deal. My son Michael had begged me to dress like a proper CEO. But after 3 decades of breaking barriers in finance, I'd earned the right to prioritize comfort over appearances. "You there?" A sharp voice cut through my thoughts. "Kitchen staff entrance is through the back." Diana Whitmore, the summit's executive director, strode toward me in Louboutins that cost more than my first month's rent in the Bronx. She thrust a stack of plates into my arms. "We're short 3 servers, and Elena Torres is speaking today," she said, checking her designer watch. "Everything must be perfect. She's revolutionized sustainable energy investment." I accepted the plates, curiosity piqued. In my experience, the most valuable market intelligence often came from unexpected places. "Miss Torres must be quite impressive," I observed mildly. "Built a $47 billion empire from nothing," Diana declared, tapping on her tablet. "Started with her immigrant parents' bodega money, if you can believe it. Now she's the queen of green energy investment." "Fascinating," I said, examining the fine china. "Though these plates seem a bit formal for a conference on sustainability. Have you considered bamboo serviceware? The carbon footprint." Diana's head snapped up. "How would you know about—" "Mom," Michael's voice rang out across the ballroom. "I thought we agreed you'd wear the Armani." Diana's tablet clattered to the marble floor. "Mom," she stammered. "But that would mean you're—" "Elena Torres," I confirmed, carefully setting down the plates. "And I stand by my point about the carbon footprint of fine china." Color drained from Diana's face as she recognized the woman whose biography she'd presumably helped compile for the conference materials. "Miss Torres, I didn't." "Mom likes to get a feel for venues before speaking," Michael explained, shooting me the same exasperated look he perfected since childhood. "Though she promised to dress the part today." "The market doesn't care what I'm wearing," I pointed out, already moving toward the presentation area. "But these energy consumption levels in your venue choice, those matter." "I'll speak to the hotel about the plateware," Diana stuttered, backing away. "I'm so terribly sorry, Miss Torres. If I'd known—" "But that's rather the point, isn't it?" I called after her, retreating form. "We make assumptions based on appearance, yet money doesn't care about prejudice. Green energy doesn't check your outfit before reducing carbon emissions." Michael sighed, helping me inspect the stage setup. "You could have told her who you were immediately, and missed the chance to observe how people treat those they think are beneath them. Besides, she just gave me an excellent opening for my keynote on blind spots in investment strategy." The ballroom doors burst open as Charles Wellington Ayuli, the conference chair, rushed in. "Miss Torres, we had a VIP welcome planned. Why didn't you come through the main entrance?" "The service entrance offered valuable market research," I replied, examining the lighting system. "Did you know this venue's energy efficiency rating is abysmal? Hardly appropriate for a sustainable investment conference." What?" He blinked, then turned to Michael. "Mr. Torres Goldman, your mother is—" "Brilliant and impossible," Michael finished. "Yes, I know. I grew up watching her turn down billion-dollar deals over environmental impact statements. The Hampton Mills rejection taught you more about integrity than any business school could," I reminded him. "Sometimes the best investment is in your principles." More finance executives filtered in, their expressions shifting from dismissal to recognition as they spotted Michael. The whispers started. "That's Elena Torres, sustainable energy pioneer, turned down the Saudi sovereign fund." "We have a special preparation room," Charles said anxiously, "and a proper suit, if you prefer." "This shirt has seen me through 3 market crashes," I replied. "I think it's earned its place in financial history. Now about these energy consumption metrics." The next hour passed in a blur of technical adjustments and awkward apologies. Diana reappeared with premium coffee, then fled when I brought up the environmental impact of single-use cups. Several executives who had earlier ignored my presence now hovered nearby, desperate to join the conversation. "Your mother is quite unconventional," I overheard one tell Michael. "She says the market taught her that appearance and reality rarely match," Michael replied. "So she likes to see how people act when they don't know they're dealing with a billionaire." By the time the ballroom began filling with investors and analysts, Word had spread about the morning's mistaken identity. I noticed Diana had disappeared completely, though she left behind a handwritten apology note with 3 references to my groundbreaking work in sustainable finance. "Ready for your keynote?" Michael asked, straightening my collar in a gesture that reminded me of his grandmother, who taught me my first lessons about money and dignity in that small bronze bodega. "Almost," I said, pulling out my old notebook, the same one where I first sketched the sustainable investment model that would eventually build my empire. "I'm adding a new opening section about institutional blindness and its effect on market opportunities, using this morning as a case study. The best market research comes from real-world observation." I smiled. "Besides, they're all expecting a lecture on green energy investment. Why not show them how human bias creates market inefficiencies?" The ballroom buzzed with uncomfortable recognition as I placed the stack of fine china plates at the edge of the podium. In the front row, Diana Whitmore seemed to be trying to disappear into her designer briefcase. "Let's talk about market inefficiencies," I began, pulling up my first slide, a split image of myself in work clothes beside one of me in formal attire ringing the New York Stock Exchange bell. "The market, in theory, is rational and unbiased. But markets are made of people, and people have blind spots. How many billion-dollar opportunities have been missed because investors couldn't see past their own prejudices?" Michael, standing at the back of the room, was trying not to smile. He'd watched me turn uncomfortable moments into investment opportunities his entire life. "Consider this case study." I clicked to the next slide, showing the growth chart of my first sustainable energy fund. When I launched this fund in 1995, every major bank turned it down. One executive told me to stick to running my parents' bodega. That fund has since generated a 3,200% return. The audience shifted uneasily. Several prominent fund managers suddenly became very interested in their phones. The same investment proposal, when presented by a male colleague, received immediate interest. I continued. The only variable that changed was the messenger. In market terms, we call this an inefficiency. In human terms, we call it bias. Charles Wellington Iuli, one of those early rejectors, though he didn't know I remembered, loosened his tie uncomfortably. "But this isn't about assigning blame," I assured them, moving to a real-time market data display. "It's about identifying untapped opportunities." This morning, I conducted a market research experiment in this very room. A young analyst raised her hand. "Miss Torres, are you saying you deliberately didn't correct people's assumptions?" "Exactly," I smiled. "Just as I've done at countless venues over 30 years. The data is fascinating. Would you like to see the correlation between how I'm treated and the investment opportunities I'm offered?" I switched to a new slide showing 3 decades of data. In 847 documented incidents of being mistaken for support staff, I was subsequently able to identify market opportunities those same institutions had overlooked. Their bias created our advantage. Diana finally found her voice. "But that's rather manipulative, isn't it?" "Is it?" I adjusted my presentation. "Or is it manipulative that after building a $47 billion firm, winning multiple global sustainability awards, and revolutionizing green energy investment, I'm still immediately categorized as kitchen staff based on appearance and ethnicity?" The silence was worth billions in market insight. "Here's an interesting market pattern," I continued. "This morning, multiple people lectured others about my achievements without recognizing me. What does that tell us about the gap between intellectually understanding market opportunities and practically recognizing them?" Michael stepped forward right on cue, carrying my original business plan. Mom's been documenting these interactions as part of a larger study on missed market opportunities due to institutional bias. A study which, I added, has identified over $300 billion in overlooked investment potential in underserved markets and overlooked founders. That's not just a social justice issue. It's a massive market inefficiency. I clicked to a new slide showing investment return data. Firms with the most diverse investment teams consistently outperform their peers. Yet the industry remains remarkably homogeneous. In market terms, that's irrational behavior. Charles Wellington finally spoke up. "Miss Torres, what's your recommendation for addressing this market blindness?" "First, we acknowledge that good intentions aren't enough," I replied, picking up one of the fine china plates. Just as sustainable energy required us to completely rethink traditional energy investment models, addressing market bias requires us to completely rethink our investment assumptions. But you're Elena Torres, Diana protested. You're a legend in sustainable finance. Am I? Or am I a market opportunity you almost missed this morning? How many other Elena Torreses are out there, being directed to service entrances instead of investment meetings? The rest of the keynote wove between market analysis and social commentary, demonstrating how overlooked opportunities often come disguised in unexpected packages. By the end, even the most skeptical attendees were taking notes. In conclusion, I said, gathering my materials, the market rewards those who see opportunities others miss. Perhaps it's time we expanded what we're willing to see. The applause was thunderous, though I noticed it held a different quality than usual. Less automatic appreciation, more uncomfortable self-reflection. As people filed out, many stopped to apologize for their earlier assumptions. I waved them off with a smile. Don't apologize, invest. The next billion-dollar opportunity might come from someone you'd normally direct to the kitchen. Mom, Michael approached with Charles Wellington. The investment committee would like to discuss a partnership opportunity to invest in sustainable energy or sustainable thinking. I asked, raising an eyebrow. Both, Charles admitted. We clearly need the latter to succeed in the former. I considered the offer, thinking of all the other entrepreneurs who'd been dismissed. All the brilliant ideas overlooked because they came in unexpected packages. I'll consider it, I said finally, on one condition. We establish a fund specifically for overlooked founders. Let's turn market bias into market opportunity. Agreed, Charles nodded quickly. Though perhaps we should get you a proper office first. Oh no, I smiled, patting my comfortable shirt. I'll keep my current approach. It's proven to be an excellent screening tool for potential partners. Michael rolled his eyes, but I caught his proud smile. He understood that sometimes the best investment opportunities come not from formal pitches, but from moments of forced self-reflection. As we left the ballroom, I noticed Diana organizing a diversity and inclusion panel for the afternoon session. Sometimes, I reflected, the best returns come from investing in people's potential to change. 6 months after the conference, my kitchen staff incident had become a case study at top business schools. My worn denim shirt was now displayed in Harvard Business School's Leadership Museum, alongside a simple plaque. Look past the package, Elena Torres Market Inefficiency Test, 2025. The most remarkable transformation came from Diana Whitmore. After our encounter, she launched a successful consulting firm helping investment companies identify their blind spots. Her tagline? Don't miss your Elena Torres moment. You won't believe this, Michael said during our weekly strategy meeting. Diana's firm just helped uncover a $2 billion opportunity in sustainable agriculture, led by a former farm worker most VC firms wouldn't even meet. Let me guess, I smiled. They didn't like his clothes. They didn't like anything about him. Until Diana made them do your service entrance test. Now he's revolutionizing vertical farming technology. The ripple effects continued spreading through the industry. Major investment firms began implementing blind pitch sessions, where proposals were evaluated without revealing the identity of the founders. Several discovered that removing visual bias increased their returns by over 40%. The Torres Fund for Overlooked Founders, which we launched after the conference, had already backed 30 startups, mostly led by women, minorities, and other non-traditional entrepreneurs. More importantly, these founders were encouraged to come as they were, no expensive suits required. Mom, Michael said during one portfolio review, remember how you used to tell me that money doesn't care who makes it grow? Yesterday, one of our founders said she finally felt free to be both a CEO and herself. The industry had made other changes too. Charles Wellington implemented anonymous first-round investment screenings, which resulted in a surprisingly diverse portfolio. Service staff at financial conferences were now treated as potential feature speakers. Small changes, perhaps, but in finance, small changes yield compound returns. One morning, I visited the Ritz-Carlton where it all started, this time for a pitch competition we were hosting. The contestants wore everything from traditional cultural dress to work clothes to hoodies. Miss Torres, one young entrepreneur called out, "We're using your market inefficiency principle. Want to hear our pitches?" I settled into a seat, noting how confidently they owned their space, their ideas, their potential. No one was trying to fit someone else's image of success. Diana taught us to focus on our innovation, not our appearance, another founder explained. Something about market opportunities hiding in plain sight? Diana, now a regular speaker on bias and investment, had taken my impromptu lesson and turned it into a movement. Every major investment conference now included the tourist tests, sending plainly dressed people with brilliant ideas to see how they were treated. But the real victory came in small moments. A woman in a hijab confidently pitching to major VCs, a former custodian presenting his technology innovation, a brilliant mind being recognized for ideas, not outfits. The thing about markets, had told a CNBC reporter who asked about the changes, is that they're supposed to be rational. When we let bias cloud our judgment, we're not just being unfair, we're being bad investors. Michael found me later in my office, still wearing my signature casual clothes while reviewing billion-dollar deals. "You planned all this, didn't you?" he asked. "That morning with the plates, you knew exactly what you were doing." "Like any good investment," I replied, studying a promising proposal. "I simply identified an inefficiency in the market and let the opportunity reveal itself." He laughed, loosening his tie. "Mom, you're still impossible." "No," I corrected, watching another generation of diverse entrepreneurs fill our halls. "I'm just a market opportunity in comfortable clothes, just like finance should be." The next day, I received a package from Diana. Inside was a serving plate made of sustainable bamboo with a note. "Sometimes the best opportunities come on the humblest platters. Thank you for teaching me to really see." I placed it on my desk, next to my latest acquisition deal, a $5 billion renewable energy project led by a former kitchen worker who taught himself engineering. He pitched to us in his work clothes, and we saw exactly what mattered: the future.